Hey, everybody, it's Alex Miller at Capnion here. I'm about to start something new, and then I'm going to do a little bit of a mini series of videos. And what these videos are going to be about are a number of trends across a different industry with different names. Like all really hot trends, they're maybe a little bit obfuscated. I'm going to argue that these trends are kind of all the same trend. And maybe also that understanding them as all it's the same trend makes it a lot easier to understand what is going on and why. I want to say here I would be tickled pink if somebody watched this video and then flamed me in the comments. Oh, don't flame me. Don't flame me. But let me know in the comments that they might understand some of these things better than I do. I can't be an industry expert across every industry. So this first video, I'm going to give the big picture. And then I'm going to talk about each of these three trends that I'm talking about here at a high level and arguing have a lot of commonality. So the three trends I want to talk about are open banking, which is in the banking industry and finance, the network exposure function, or NEF, which is something that's attached to the move to 5G, and then finally the FHIR standard for healthcare data. And the thing I want to point out about all three of these trends is that they're all about exposing a bunch of APIs. Now, before I kind of get into, what do you mean expose a bunch of APIs? What is the business trend that's driving these trends in information technology? A lot of older companies are very anxious about younger companies putting out some kind of easy-to-use app that gets traction with consumers that allows that younger company to muscle in on what they're doing. And all this stuff about APIs is about, we want to make it easy for people to come and build apps so that if there's some exciting app that gets built that uses our data, that lives in our industry, we want to be in on it from day one and not, find out about it later. So just to kind of elaborate a little, open banking is this idea that a company like, I'm just going to say Venmo, that interfaces with your bank, there's some kind of standard infrastructure they could use to get information about your bank to build that app. The FHIR standard is actually not really always talked about as a trend. It's a specific way of formatting healthcare data for exposing via an API. But once again, the story here is that we want to make the data really standard, so when we're putting it out to people to be employed in some other system, everybody knows what's up and it's easy to do. And then the network exposure function is, once again, with the added volume that 5G can provide, well, maybe we can provide a lot of APIs so that developers that are using data generated by mobile phones can get right at it in a standard way and build whatever kind of app, and everybody's on the same page from day one. All right, so it's also worth talking a bit here about what is an API. API stands for Application Programmer Interface. This sounds pretty cool, and I think a little bit, it's often kind of oversold what an API is, because a lot of the time, what APIs are in the context we're talking about here is just a way of exposing information from a database via a web page. So you could go to some specific URL and you would give some information about what you wanted from that URL as get or post parameters, if you know that web development lingo. And then the information you want is going to get dumped in some kind of serialized form as a web page, and your application can scrape it off the web and do whatever you want with it. And the power of doing this is, if you get everybody on the same page about how this is going to occur, maybe people that want to build an app can just focus on front-end stuff and there's no back-end issue. And part of why these trends are important at older companies is older companies might have legacy technology on the back end that people kind of coming along, ground zero trying to build an app aren't familiar with, might not have good resources for interfacing with. And the power of doing things in this API approach is you're essentially setting up a standardized, easy-to-use backend for anybody that might want to create an app. And then the hope attached to all of these trends to varying degrees is that The people exposing this data are going to get great access to developers who are going to build cool apps because the developers are attracted to that standardization and ease of use and being able to focus on the front end and not the back end. And everybody's going to have a great time working together to provide that value to consumers versus people fighting and then some smaller upstart company bringing in their new exciting app and pushing those legacy players out of the way. So over the next 3 Thursdays after today, I'm going to talk about each of these 3 trends in detail, and I'm going to try to get back to this overarching theme. And I would love, love, love it if you thought I didn't get it or you knew some extra stuff you would like to add. By all means, please let me know. I'm here to educate you, and if I can scam you guys into educating each other, that's even better. All right, I'm excited. Look for me next week, the week after, and the week after that on Thursdays.